Hi, I'm Claude Gauguin, engineer at National Precast Concrete Association, and today we are at Lindsay Precast in Canal Fulton, Ohio, to learn about proper form release application. With me is Lynn Grimm, manager here at Lindsay Precast, and she is going to help us walk through the do's and don'ts of applying form release application. Thanks for joining us today, Lynn.
Thank you.
So what is the very first thing you do when we get ready to apply form release?
First thing, safety first. You would need to wear your protective eyewear, your hard hat. If you're applying a form release agent, you would also need to wear gloves like Doug has.
So Lynn, why is form release application such a critical step in the production process?
It is so critical because it helps you in stripping the product out of the form. You get a better overall finished product, and it really preserves the life of your molds. As you can see behind me, we have a mold that was stripped earlier today. Before we talk about applying a release agent, it's important to note that you really have to have a good, clean form. No matter how good you are at applying a release agent, if there is any foreign debris in the form, it's going to result in issues in the finished product. As you can see here, there's still debris left in the mold. That debris will need to be cleaned out before you can go any further. And once the mold is good and clean, you're good to go ahead and start setting up.
So it looks like we're ready to go then.
We are ready to go.
All right, I just want to mention here real quick that there are different types of form oil. There are barrier types and there are reactive types. And based on what you're using, you're going to have a different application rate based on the equipment and the product. So the best thing to do is to check with your manufacturer on what the proper application rate should be.
There's also some other things to consider. If it's colder outside, you're going to need a little more pressure because your form oil is not flowing as well, so you'll need a tighter tip nozzle. If it's warmer outside, you'll need less pressure because your form oil is flowing better, and you need a broader nozzle. And you want to make sure that the form oil is put on in good, even strokes. I'd like to have Doug come back and show us how to apply the release agent to the mold. He is all ready to go. He has his wand. We have a fan tip on the end, and we are pumping 115 pounds of pressure through a central location in the plant. A lot of precasters, they'll maybe use a can or another way to get the release agent to the product. Whichever way works, it's all pretty much the same concept. We're going to go ahead and have Doug grab the wand, and he's going to apply the release agent in broad, even strokes to the mold, and making sure that we don't get a lot of form oil up into the air.
So is there any other way that you apply form release other than a sprayer?
Well, you can use a microfiber cloth. Here we use a mop. The mop is used primarily to pick up the excess form oil on a product, but you can reuse that without applying form oil again. Just taking into consideration that the mop is already saturated and you don't want to over apply.
So now that we've seen the proper technique of form oil application, what are some of the issues you can run into when applying form release?
Easily, I'd say the most consistent issue is over application. You want that form oil lightly on the mold, about the thickness of a human hair, no more. You come around the mold here, you can see that the form oil is dripping down the mold. That means it's over applied. An easy way to test to see if it's over applied is to just run your finger up the mold. If you can see where your finger's been, if there's a lot of form oil release agent on your finger still, it's been over applied. You can take a microfiber cloth or a mop to go ahead and mop up that excess so the form is still ready to go. Another important consideration is you never want your release agent to come in contact with your reinforcement. That will really affect the bond between the concrete and that reinforcement, which is critical to the product.
So what can happen if you don't apply form release properly?
Well, you could get bug holes, you'll get staining where the release agent is pooled in the mold.
Now, are there any particular products that you will use a mop rather than a sprayer?
Definitely. Architectural products where you want a great finish, and also if you're using a form liner, that works very well.
Well, Lynn, thank you very much for sharing this information with us today.
It was my pleasure.
So just to wrap things up, 3 important tips when it comes to applying form release. Number 1, when applying form release, the golden rule is less is better. Avoid over application. Number 2, make sure the form is clean before you apply the form release, and also make sure it doesn't come in contact with any reinforcing. And then number 3, make sure you have the right tip and the right pressure. That can make all the difference in terms of form release application. As Lynn mentioned earlier, when it gets hot, that form release is going to get thinner. When it gets cold, it's going to get thicker. So adjusting that pressure and that spray tip can really make a big difference. So consult with your manufacturer on the right application rates and the right tips to use. So that's it for today, and thanks for watching.